Welcome, horror fans, to HHN29, a Halloween Horror Nights podcast, episode 3. We are on to episode 3, Duff.
Oh, man.
At what point can we stop being surprised that we're making another episode?
I think we'll always be surprised, to be honest. I mean, like, at 5, will you be surprised?
Yeah.
At 500, will you be surprised?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah,
well, it'll never stop.
All right, but yeah, we're here. Thank you for listening. As the fact that you guys are listening is why we're still making these. So.
We're really impressed by the numbers, actually.
Yeah,
a lot of people have been listening. We've got some good engagement.
Yeah.
We have people over the world. We have Australia. We think we know who you are, Anthony.
Yeah, we know who you are.
But otherwise, yeah, I mean, it's international.
If you're the Regina listener, we want to hear from you.
That's amazing.
Regina, Canada. Winnipeg?
I don't remember where else it was, but Toronto. We had Toronto. Yeah. We only remember the Canadian cities clearly.
Southern California.
Yeah, a lot of Florida.
Yeah,
a lot of East Coast.
Well, yeah, keep listening. Let us know where you're listening from. We can kind of see it on the analytics, but we want to hear from you on social media.
Or maybe you're traveling and like, oh, we have a listener in Azerbaijan. Nope, you were just there for business.
True. All the business in Azerbaijan. You're on the Silk Road. Like, why are you in Azerbaijan? Anyway, all right. So, for news, there's really not much going on right now, so we're going to just kind of move into our history segment. I'm going to try something a little bit new for the history segment, and I think I'm going to try to keep this up at least until I run out of things to talk about. I wanted to kind of make it a little bit more like trivia, like things that you might not have heard of, or things even if you went to an event this year, like you may have missed. Kind of like inside baseball type of stuff. This one especially, if you went to the event, you might not know anything about this. I'm going to focus on, call it the corn maze that sorta never was. So this is going to span 2004 and 2005. In 2004, for one of the scare zones, it was going to be this huge, elaborate scare zone that they've really never tried anything of this size. Again, it was going to be like 3 or 4 acres long. It was going to go behind Seuss Landing, kind of go all the way up to the Nickelodeon Studios area that's now Blue Man Group. They were going to build this giant corn maze. They still call this area, a little bit of it, they've built in this area, the corn maze, and it's kind of used for like turning around buses and things like that. I only know that because I worked at Universal for a while. But so this kind of still lives on in Universal lingo, the corn maze. It was going to be this giant scare zone. They built corn apparently all over the backstage of Universal to put in this corn maze. It was like a structure that was like chain link. And they actually, like, where there's growing foliage all over it, and then they had corn they were putting onto it, and they had it basically built. And then in 2004, I don't know if you guys remember, Central Florida was hit by 3 giant hurricanes in a row, and basically destroyed what was going to be this huge corn maze. And they had already printed the maps, and it was going to be called the Filda Screams, so they had to quickly basically scrap the corn maze idea because it was destroyed. Like the structure just couldn't do it.
Which, if you remember, if you've been going recent years, 2017 Scarecrow, the cornfield out front got kind of wrecked by Irma.
Yeah,
but that kind of added to the house. Didn't ruin a whole house.
Well, I think we're going to talk about other hurricanes wrecking when we get to Academy of Villains.
Oh,
that's a little bit of what we're going to be talking about. So yeah. Something that's kind of plagued Halloween Horror Nights through its history is it's just when they have the event, it says things could get destroyed by a hurricane. So anyway, they were able to throw together the Field of Scream Scare Zone. It was a lot different than what it was going to be. It was just kind of a path that led you around, and they put some characters in it, and it was really cool. So I hear, but 2005, they decided to take that chain link structure that they had now repaired and put in kind of the boneyard area, which, if you guys don't know what that is where the Music Plaza is now, is basically a bunch of props that they had. they put this structure, and they actually did do a maze, and it was called Rat Run. And 2005 was a very interesting year. I'm sure there's a lot of other history segments we can do about this year, if you guys remember. This was the year of the Terror Queen and the Storyteller, and they kind of put in the Storyteller last minute because they didn't think the fantasy theme of the Terror Queen would go over well. But anyway, this is probably going to be another history segment. There's a lot of other really cool things about 2005, but they put this structure into the boneyard, and it was only open on peak nights. So during peak nights of 2005, they would open up the other side of the park, and so inside the structure, it was just kind of like a chain link vent. You could kind of see inside it, and then they put in the middle of it a stage, and they put Jack the Clown there, just kind of taunting the people running through it like rats. And inside of it, they had a bunch of other icons just kind of in there scaring. And during Stay and Scream, it was actually open for regular guests of Universal that year without the characters in it, but Jack the Clown was still up there. And then around the sides of it, there was like air cannon buttons, so people who were not in the rat race could kind of scare the people in the rat race. And then if you were in the rat run, you could press a button to scare the people outside of it. It's just kind of one of those things that if you didn't go on a peak night and you went to 2005, you probably didn't even know it existed. I don't think it was on any of the maps or things. It was just kind of like a little hidden trivia thing that they tried. It never came back a different year. It didn't. I don't think it was really a success to them. But so that is the story of the corn maze that sort of never was / rat run.
That's something I would love to experience.
Yeah,
man. That would have been. That's so different.
2005 has a lot of those things, and I think we'll talk about them.
That's missed it by 1 year. Yeah. Oh.
And 2006 was your first year?
First year, yeah.
Oh, yeah. You missed it by 1 year. I missed it by a couple. But
for so many years I wish I would have gone, but to be honest, I would have been terrified before then. Because I was terrified my first 3 years I went anyway, so right. I can't imagine being even younger and going.
I was in Utah going to Rocky Point Haunted House, so that's where I was at the time.
One of the top hots in the country.
Yes.
Well,
I've been going since I was 6 years old to haunted houses.
Yeah, no, it was not going to happen with me. Hey, but I go now, so I'm happy.
I think they were toned down a little bit over there in that part of the country.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We can talk about this later.
Okay. But. Yeah, so let's move on to our main segment here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are going to focus on this segment. We talked a little bit about it in our episode 1, but I think we wanted to. We got to go a couple of times and see them a lot more closely, and I think I've got to see all the shows. So we're going to focus just on our first segment on a deep dive, I guess, of the Scarezones and shows. We've talked a lot about the houses. We haven't talked too much about the Scarezones and shows. I think we're going to kind of focus on those for the first segment.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, if you listen to our first episode, you kind of heard this can be just like our house segment there, where it's not necessarily us breaking it down. We might do that in later episodes. This is going to be more of us, our pure opinions of them, what we felt, what we thought while we're experiencing them.
Right.
More than, at this part, you see this exactly, and at this part, this is what you're going to see.
Bo, we may do that.
I mean, that'll happen for our own reference. But
we're going to get full Asperger's on this.
This is true.
At some point. But yes, let's get right into it. So,
where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start at an arcade. I guess it's the one when you walk in and that you see it. I think you kind of have to start here. Has your opinions changed on an arcade over the little bit, or do you still kind of feel the same way with the first time you walked in the an arcade?
I feel the same from at least what I said in the first episode, and the fact that I really like the aesthetic compared to previous years. I like what they're doing, whereas it's not just these are the houses we have all laid out. Here's a couple characters and some signs.
Right.
This is what you're going to enjoy. They actually took the theme and immersed themselves within the theme. Now, it's still not overly impressive. The props are cool, what they have but it's nothing that's definitely not over the top. Nothing that's going to transport you somewhere else. They just look cool, I'd say. Scare actors look amazing. Scare-wise, it's not fully there. But for that location, Plaza of the Stars, I think it's a really well done. Especially when looking back at the past, 4 years.
Right. I see a lot of talk on Twitter and on social media of people saying, is this what Halloween Horror Nights is going to be moving forward? Are we just going to have these things that take great pictures and attract people into Halloween Horror Nights? And I have to say, we're probably going to see a lot of this moving forward, and I don't know if it's necessarily a bad thing. I think that's just kind of the era we are in. I mean, we're not going to see the gory, scary Scarezones that much anymore. I mean, at least for now, I think it's probably things are secular. But for now, I think Halloween Horror Nights just kind of has a wider appeal than it did back when, you had, I don't know, Seven or some of those other scare zones that were just kind of very horror-centric and gory and visceral.
Honestly, even when we get some gory slaughtered house style scare zones, it's probably gonna have some photo ops in it too. Let's be honest.
Definitely.
I mean, it's probably it's here to stay.
Yeah.
Because 1, the guests enjoy it. 2, it's marketing.
Right. And it definitely, I think we're gonna see that spot just basically embody the theme, and I don't think we're gonna ever see it embody the theme as well as this scare zone. This is basically they take the 80s theme of that they did this year, and they just kind of put it together in a way that I think that people I think people have a little bit of a problem with it, but I don't see why.
But see, I also see a lot of people, even those who are massive HHN fans, who are like, man, I love this scare zone. It's great. May not be my favorite. I don't see what's wrong, but I love it.
I love it.
I mean, personally, I don't love it. I think it's good. I think it's solid. I enjoy walking through it at night, especially. Yes. During the day, it's kind of just a breeze through and don't spend any time. I think
you have to walk through this scare zone at night.
You have to. Yes, it was built for that.
It was built for it.
I mean, a lot of areas are, but this can only survive at night, really.
And I think we said this in the first episode. I do feel like maybe it could have been expanded down the street a little bit, or it could have.
This is where, when you said, I don't think we're going to see any scare zone done better than this, as far as taking the theme and embodying it within a scare zone. I think they will do better than this at some point in this location by not necessarily expanding it, but more immersive. Not just aesthetically matching the theme, but totally immersing you within the theme.
I could see, I could start seeing a little, maybe. I don't know what they could do. Maybe AR, VR type stuff in this area. We're going to start seeing technology used a lot, I think.
Well, I mean, hopefully next year we expect some icons to come back, as it's the 30th, of course. And I hope we see it kind of go back to the way it was during the icon years, where they would have the shows in there featuring all the icons.
Right.
Will that happen? Who knows?
I think it's coming back for 30, but I don't know if it's going to stick.
But I don't know if it's here to stay. I think we're going to see things like that, specifically on 5-year anniversaries.
Yeah.
But I think moving forward, as you said, that kind of taking the theme, and I think they're going to stick to real themes moving forward. That's kind of what this scare zone is going to be. Just embody whatever the theme that is.
Right. And it works well for that. I think it's the one that you see while you're waiting for the person to struggle to scan your ticket in your finger. You sit there and you see this scare zone. That's what this scare zone does so well, is that before you're even in the park, you get in the mood by seeing people getting scared in the scare zone while you're waiting to get in.
See, my worry, though, is the theme that they're using this year is just generally aesthetically pleasing. It's a very popular style at the moment, the 80s synthwave kind of thing. What about years where there's no real aesthetic to it?
I don't know if we're gonna see a lot of years like that. I think we're in such a Instagram, social media.
Yeah, but I mean, how many themes can you pick where there's just a certain aesthetic that would fit with Horror Nights? Because I mean, we can't do another year of the '80s. I hope we don't.
I think we'll see '80s again. Maybe not as embodied as this. I think we'll maybe see a little bit later, but we're not going to see it soon, probably.
I mean, later on, yeah, if it ever becomes big again, sure, but hopefully not within the next few years.
Yeah, no, you're probably right. So let's move on to the next scare zone. Should we just kind of... What should we do? Should we go down the street and kind of head to New York?
Yeah, you want to head
just
clockwise?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
So that would be Zombieland Double Tap. We had strong feelings about this one. I think it's warming up to me maybe a little bit. We'll get to it. What do you think? I know you have strong feelings on Zombieland Double Tap.
I do. So, again, disclaimer, have not seen Zombieland and not seen Zombieland Double Tap. Does that release
I don't think it's
this
out
week?
yet. Yeah, I think
This
it's
week
coming
or
soon.
soon. So obviously I have no attachment to the film or its characters or anything involved. However, I went during years where it was Walking Dead and Purge, and at the time I'd not really seen Purge movies or had any attachment. I did not like Walking Dead as a franchise at all, but still left more impressed by the scare zones. I just feel... I don't want to say lazy. I feel like that's a bad word. I think what they were trying to do didn't hit.
Right.
The shows they pull off with the pre-recorded audio, where it's 3 characters, I believe, have different shows, but it's the same audio.
I'm still baffled by this choice.
I think it's bad enough that it's pre-recorded audio, but to have the same exact lines for every single character?
I'm starting to convince myself that this wasn't necessarily a creative choice, and that this was probably something where they reached out to the movie people and said, hey, what can we do? And they gave them 4 or 5 lines of script, and that's all they got, and they had to repeat it. Like, that's all. I'm starting to convince myself that it was not necessarily creative's choice to have the show 3 times the same show with 3 different characters. I'm starting to think that their hands were tied somehow.
That could be true, but that doesn't spare any feelings for it.
Right.
Whether they chose to or whether it was kind of forced upon them, we got that scare zone. I don't enjoy that scare zone. Regardless of anything else, I'm done with zombies, man.
Yeah. They'll be back, but let's take a break.
If you're doing zombies, do it a lot differently, like Dead Exposure Patient Zero did last year. You've got to mix it up a little bit. I'm tired of the slow walking, almost comical zombies, basically.
Yeah. So you like your zombies on crack, basically.
I mean,
like the 28 Days Later zombies.
To be honest, I don't have a preference between zombies. I'm not a huge zombie fan in general. I think they can be pulled off well in different ways. We've just been overloaded with specifically the Walking Dead style zombies.
Right. I think zombies were very, very popular. I think they still are popular. So I think we're going to probably see a lot more zombies moving forward. But
yeah, I don't disagree. I just personally am kind of done.
Yeah. All right. I did want to say that I don't think it's all bad, this scare zone. I think there's a lot of Easter eggs in this scare zone. I think I've probably said this before. I really, really like the Bill Murray zombie. I kind of outed myself as not seeing the porta potties, but I got to check those out. Those are really cool. There's a lot of little fun elements.
I have one positive about the
I was
scare
gonna
zone
let
that
you say.
know. Okay.
I was going to let you say this.
The zombie in the full jogging suit with the headband that just jogs around the entire time.
We are full fangirls of this guy.
Him try to scare anybody. He just jogs.
If you were this character who plays this, please add us on Facebook, and we're going to buy you a beer sometime. You make it for us every night.
Yeah.
You probably know who we are because we creep you out by just following you around, but you are hilarious. You don't scare anyone, but you get a good workout every night, and we are proponents of that. So
yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah,
I kind of want to follow you, but I feel like I might get kicked out.
Yeah, right. Well, keep up the good work, jogger zombie, because you get in a good workout, and we laugh all the time. So keep working out.
You are my one positive. Okay. You are, I'll say it nicely, you are my favorite thing about that scare zone.
I really like Bill Murray, but yes, the jogger, Bill Murray, and there are a few probably other Easter eggs if you were to explore this scare zone you would find. But let's hope for something a little bit better next year.
I think usually that spot, even if you don't like the property, has a decent scare zone though.
Yeah.
So I'm not too worried about
I'm
that
excited
location.
to see.
In
Yeah,
general.
that's always a pretty good scare zone. So then if we keep on going, then we would run into Rob Zombie's Hellbilly Deluxe.
We would, yeah, that's correct.
So yeah, we actually got to hang out and take some pictures that we'll be posting eventually. I don't know if we want to out ourselves to what we look like yet, but
I mean, I've posted my Twitter so you can see me anytime you want.
I don't have a Twitter. HHN365 is kind of turned into my Twitter. I don't really have one, but if you do want to find me, I will reach out to me and I'll let you know what I look like. I didn't mean I didn't mean it like that.
So find him on Bumble, basically.
Yeah. Swipe right first, right?
Okay, yeah. So
I'm married. I'm married, by the way.
So Hellbilly Deluxe, yes. Walk up, see some flames. That's all I see, and then hear really loud music.
Oh, you just see the flames, right?
It. Yeah, it's
kind
of fantastic. Kind of like, oh no, what am I going through? Am I going to get a headache in this short walk? And by short, I mean could be like 10 minutes, depending on how bottlenecked it is at the time.
Yeah. So our friend Nico kind of outed us that we're not huge heavy metal fans, but I really love the Scare Zone. I think it's really fun. I think it's really high energy. It's kind of an Instagram-y ones too, but there's so much variety here.
Even we used it at Instagram. Like we took pictures of Dragula, took pictures in the throne.
The weird hand guy.
We never take pictures.
Yeah.
So I mean,
yeah, we walked through the Scare Zone, and I think we were like just about the only people in it.
Yeah, so I think it started to grow on me because of the walkthroughs I've had while it's emptier.
Right.
Because when it's crazy bottlenecked, it's just get out of there as fast as you can. I don't want to spend any time there. I just want to get out.
Right.
Because it's hot and packed, and people are just stopping in front of you to take pictures, and it's
stare at butts. They want to stare at butts.
Yeah, basically. I still have the same issues with. There's so many sets and so many things to look at within such a tight area that it's just going to cause traffic issues. I mean, we knew that from before the event even started. Seeing what's coming, seeing the sets that are popping up, we're like, oh, well, this is going to be packed and loud and crazy.
So are we going to see hot houses again, or are we just going to kind of see hot scare zones? Because I guess we kind of had a hot house with the Nightingale's Blood Pit, but it's so smelly in there that I can't imagine anyone is like enjoying the views that you're getting at Nightingale's.
And then I don't think. I mean, yeah, there's a couple where they're. I'm not going to use the term, but where they're good to look at, you could say.
Right.
But I think that's more to do with the theme. They kind of fit that Roman warrior.
Right. Yeah, you're right. I don't know if they meant Nightingales to be a hot house.
No, I don't.
But they definitely meant this to be a hot scares.
I don't think it's meant to be a hot house. I think they were well aware of some of the people they were putting in.
Right.
But
right.
Yeah, no, it's not meant to be a hot house. I don't think we've seen a hot house in a while.
I feel like a lot of people think Nightingales is a hot house though. I've been
you
seeing.
Think so?
Yeah, I'm seeing on Instagram and Twitter that there's a certain demographic that really likes Nightingale Blood Pit for a certain reason, and that is the buff dudes.
I understand why they do. However, I just don't think it was made to be a hot house.
You don't think they had it in mind?
As a hot house, no. Again, they knew who they were casting, but it was not meant to be a hot house.
Right. But yes, there's no arguing that this was meant to be the one hot scare zone or the risque element.
Well, I wouldn't say the one because Vanity Ball.
Yeah, Vanity Ball.
They may mess with the faces, but they leave everything else to view.
Yeah, that's true.
And that is also purposely a hot scare zone. So.
Right, yeah. Yes, Vanity Ball to me.
All right, no, wait. We'll get to that later.
Okay.
Stick with Hellbilly Deluxe.
Right. Yeah, I guess getting off the rails. Have strong feelings about Vanity Ball.
Okay, come on, let's get on track.
They're changing, but we'll get there. Anything else to say about Hellbilly Deluxe?
I mean, like I said, it's growing on me. I think it's going to grow some more. I think I'm saying this on the spot. We didn't really plan this. We're probably going to do a top 5.
Yeah, I think we should. I think we should.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you'll hear exactly where I place it soon.
Okay, so then let's move all the way to Vikings Undead.
Yeah. I like it. I do.
Yeah.
I think costumes are beautiful. I like the props they have a lot. That's a space that I think works really well as a scare zone, almost no matter what you put in it.
Yeah, definitely.
Just with the overhanging trees, it's dark, the lighting effects you can use to amplify it. I mean, it's just such a great spot for a scare zone, and they always do so well with it. Is it the best they've done with that space? No, but I do really enjoy it. As I was saying last time, I think the attention to detail with the history and the story is what really impresses me. It kind of kicks it up a notch rather than just being, oh, this is a nice looking scare zone. I think that without you even realizing, it takes the immersiveness to another level.
Right.
That's something I appreciate about scare zones, houses, the event as a whole. You see as a guest 5% of what they put into these houses.
Right.
They do so much research. There's so much backstory that you will never know. They don't intend for you to know, but it's for them to create this.
Right.
So without you even realizing, you're fully immersed. And I think this is a very good example of that.
Right. I have to say these characters too are always giving it their 100 every time too. I would say if you had to go into, this is the most consistent scare zone. I would say.
Yeah, I wouldn't have said that a few weeks ago. But
no, but it is scary too.
To cut back, Hellbilly Deluxe definitely rivals that.
I've had some bad walkthroughs for Hellbilly.
I mean, I've had bad walkthroughs in the sense where it's packed and I can't get to it.
Can't pack.
But when I actually encounter the scare actors, I think they are higher energy.
Yeah.
They're in your face. But again, Vikings Undead, I believe they do the same thing pretty consistently.
Yeah, they're definitely giving it their all. And I think they don't have to work as hard as some of the other scare zones. I think that, like you said, that space is just scary in general. It's very narrow and claustrophobic, and the fog can hang really well in there, and you kind of have the thing. So they don't have to, I would say, necessarily work as hard to get the scare as some of the other scare zones.
They don't.
But that is always, I always get scared walking through that area.
They set up those corners so well behind like the shrubbery. And some of the props where they can just, you can't see anything because it's dark.
Right.
Then they have a fog machine in front of it, and then they come around the corner.
Right.
And I have seen people hit the floor, not just in this specific scare zone, but in this, going back, this whole area, this area as a scare zone, I've seen it drop more people than probably any specific area in my Horror Nights history. Right. It's pretty impressive.
All right. Anything else you want to say about Vikings Undead before we move forward?
No.
All right.
Got covered.
So let's get to the last but not least, Vanity Ball. Mm-hmm. What do we think?
I mean, I love Vanity Ball. I don't know if it's slipped down rankings, but it is on a slippery slope.
Yes. Okay. So I am putting down the soapbox. I am on the record for being a giant Vanity Ball fan, and now I feel like I need to let that balloon fly away. I have had probably the last 3 or 4 times I went to Vanity Ball. The energy is just not there, and I hate saying it, but it is turned into kind of a boring scare zone. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with this one. I don't know if they got such good reviews early on, so they just kind of scaled back some of the characters. Yeah. Every time I walk through there's really nothing going on the catwalk anymore. Mm-hmm.
Not just that, but also, and this could be down to our timing, but I do walk through there a lot, and I haven't seen one of the operations in 3-4 weeks.
No,
I go 2, 3, 4
I'm sure
times
they're
a
happening.
week.
They're still putting on the
happening.
shows.
I know they happen,
but it used to be you could walk in there and there would be something going on to make you want to stay and watch it. Now I stay in there for 10, 15 minutes, and I get nothing really going on, and I get kind of weird looks like, why is this dude chilling here? Well, they're standing at, like, everyone, like, not the characters, but, like, the other guests, like why is this dude standing on an empty catwalk? And the only one waiting for a show about to start. And then I finally get sad and walk away.
Well, that was depressing.
Yeah, I really want. I really, really like this Scare Zone, and I really want the end of the season. I wanted to say it was my favorite, but I don't know if it is anymore.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I honestly don't have my top 5 set in stone yet, and we're about to say it in, I don't know, 3 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's, and I think when we recorded the first episode, it was clear cut number 1 for both of us.
Oh, it was definitely.
I don't even think it was competition.
You could tell just how excited we were about the Scare Zone. Now it is one of those things. It was like, if you went on opening day to Vanity Ball, you were at a moment in time when Vanity Ball was what it was, and now it's just not the same.
Yeah, and I mean, the interactions with the scare actors, I feel like, it's dropped. Now it's kind of like they just kind of do a little jump in your face and keep walking. Whereas before, there was a lot more. They would interact with you, talk to you, and that's kind of... I personally haven't experienced it recently.
I'm not looking to get any characters in trouble, but this is definitely the scare place. If you're going to find a character just playing around, just talking to their friends, you're going to find it in Vanity Ball lately. Like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know... I know it's a lot of work, and I know you need a mental break, but do it while your set's not on. So, but yeah, so that's the Scare Zones. Let's go straight into the shows.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
So let's start with the one, because I don't know which it is. Let's start with your favorite of the two.
Before we go away from Scare Zones, do we want to do top? Let's do top.
Let's do that.
Let's do top.
All right, cool. So if you want to start with number 5.
Okay, so my number 5 is not going to be a shocker. That would be Zombieland Double Tap.
Yeah, same for me. Moving on. Number 4. What you got?
Number 4, I would have to say Hellbilly Deluxe.
Okay. Yeah, I thought that would have moved up a little more, no?
No, I mean, it's a fun zone. I mean, I really like the zones this year. A lot of people say the zones are kind of shitty this year. I think they're generally good. Maybe and that might change, and I might be so-so on the Scare Zones, because Vanity Ball was really up there for me, and now it's sliding down, so it was kind of holding everything up. But I still think they're generally good. But yeah, it's good. There's a lot of things to see. I don't think there's a lot of scares in this Scare Zone.
No, not really.
Not really. But it's good. A hell of a lot of fun. I think it's one of those Scare Zones, like when I talk to people about Halloween Hornets, I talk about theme parks for a living. So when I talk to people about Halloween Hornets, I always tell them, okay, you need to see this. This is something that you will enjoy. Whether you like being scared or not, you're going to like this part. And if that hasn't changed, it's still a really fun element to Halloween Hornets for this year.
Yeah, I think we're kind of going opposite directions there. Whereas I started off like, oh, this is probably a weaker year for Scare Zones. And while it's still not my favorite Scare Zone year, I think I'm starting to enjoy them more, I guess you could say, overall, across the board. But for number 4, I'm going to take Anarcade. Again, I don't hate it. I think for what the space is and what it has been, this is good use of it. The aesthetics are great. Great photos. I think it's solidly a number 4 right now.
That's a shock.
Yeah.
I love Anarcade, but we'll get to that in a second.
Yeah. Well, what's your number 3 then?
My number 3 is Vikings Undead. I
wow.
know this is.
I thought that would have shot.
No, it's. I mean, could be number 2 if Vanity Ball keeps up its drop, but. Yeah, it's 3, and it's a high 3. I really like Vikings Undead, but it's just, I like the others a little bit better.
So, this is where it's going to get tough for me, and I'm still not sure what I'm about to say, but something's about to come out of my mouth, and I think I'm going to have... I think I'm gonna stick with Hellbilly Deluxe here.
Okay.
I think, yeah. Yep. Number 3, Hellbilly Deluxe.
Okay.
Locking it in. It's growing on me a lot. As you can see, it might have shot up further, but I just didn't let it happen for some reason. I still have the issue where when it's busy, it's a place that I do not want to walk through, and I avoid at all costs. So that's kind of keeping it down. But I think
it's easy to avoid too. It's
is.
one of those that, like, when you're
You
just
do
going
not
out,
have to go.
No, if you're going throughout your day, you may not see Hellbilly Deluxe. That's why I tell people, you know what, you need to try to at least check this out, because you could go throughout an entire night and just not hit it. It's
very possible, and I'm sure a lot of people do. And there are nights that I definitely do it on purpose when I'm there earlier in the night. But if I'm there near closing, I have to hit it.
Right.
I think it's a must hit at that point. It's the characters are entertaining, the sets are entertaining. Right now, it's number 3 though. We could see that keep climbing though.
all right. My number 2 is Vanity Ball.
Oh, officially did it.
I officially did it. I love Vanity Ball still, but I guess I don't see myself really going in there anymore because I know I'm going to be disappointed. I know that I'm going to wait around for a show unless I time it right, which is they don't list the shows, the set times of when the things are really going to be popping in Vanity Ball. That I'm going to go through and I'm going to hope and I'm going to wait around and nothing's really going to happen and I'm going to be sad and I'm going to walk away.
There's a lot of you getting sad here, man.
Yeah, right?
Is it like the moody music kind of getting to you a little bit? Or?
Yeah, like Charlie Brown, just like wah, wah, walking away from Vanity Ball, you know. It's usually when I'm about to meet you guys because, Duff is usually at the park. I get off work late and I go to the Halloween Horror Nights and I meet up with them, and so they're usually like finishing up a house. So I'm like, oh, perfect! I can go hang out in Vanity Ball. So I'm a weirdo by myself, sitting in Vanity Ball, waiting for Duff to get finished with the house, and nothing happens. And I get sad and I go to Mel's.
Well, luckily we're about to move away from Vanity Ball because I am not going to pick it at number 2. I'm going to go with Vikings Undead.
Oh, okay. So Vanity Ball is still up there. Okay.
Yeah. Since we're talking about my number 2, I'll say why Vikings Undead is there and not why Vanity Ball is not. I think I covered it pretty well, actually. I think there's just so much detail in it that you have to do research to figure out just how detailed and historically accurate that is. And that always impresses me. I think you can see it as a guest without doing any research, of course. You just don't fully understand. I think, again, I love that area. It's so sets the mood so well, the lighting. And number 2. Yep, I'm not going to rave about it anymore.
All right. Well, then my number 1 is, you would probably guess it, Anarcade. I think.
Oh man,
I know. I just think it embodies the theme so well, and it's just fun, and I think it does perfectly what it's set out to do. I love walking through it. It's the only scare zone that I can think about and be like, yo, let's change the way we were going to leave the park so we can go through there. I've never really done that too much for scare zones in the past, but this one is like, have we been through an arcade in the dark yet? Okay, no, then we have to go this way. Yeah. This scare zone just really embodies what Halloween Horror Nights is this year. And it does it well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. I just don't enjoy it to the same level as you do.
I love it.
That's all. I mean, I think it's good. I think everything you said is correct. My excitement level is just a lot lower for it. That's all.
So if you're looking for me before I meet up with Duff and our other friends at the end, I will be by myself in an arcade and not by myself in Vanity Ball anymore.
I still don't believe it. I think you're going to give it a few more shots.
Probably.
You can probably find him sulking near the stage.
I'm like, is anything going to happen? Hey, guys, is it the show going to start?
All right, my number 1. Still Vanity Ball. And it's going to sound weird that I don't sound too excited about my number one because it was a clear-cut number one, and now it is... I can't tell you how close I was to putting it at number two or even number three, but it held on because I really only started getting this 2 weeks ago. So you're looking at a good 4 weeks prior where I was thoroughly enjoying the event, or the Scarezone, I'm sorry. And I don't think a rough week or two can totally erase that. And I think it was just so strong earlier.
Yes,
it has enough really to withstand a few bad weeks. Now, if that continues, it's dropping. But now, if it gets back on track this week, I'll feel justified in leaving it at number one.
Maybe I've just had bad luck because, and you do go more than me, so you've probably had some good with the bad. Mm-hmm. I have just had just bad, and basically since the first couple of weeks.
Yeah. That's understandable.
Yeah, so
I definitely did have a few more good experiences than you, so I can see why you would drop it.
Yeah. All right, so I think we are done with Scare Zones. We'd love to hear what you guys think about the Scare Zones, so definitely reach out to us on social media, what you guys think. I want to see top 5 Scare Zones.
Top 5 Scare Zones.
We don't see that on
at
Twitter.
HHN365, Twitter,
yeah,
Instagram.
Exactly. Send us your top 5. Maybe we can start like a little thread of top 5.
People post themselves, but yes, please send it to us because we want it.
Maybe we'll post our top 5s, and you can reply with your top 5, so we can find them all.
Look how clever.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into shows. And I finally went with you for your first viewing of Academy of Villains.
Yes.
And
so,
I think you enjoyed it.
I loved it. I more than enjoyed it. I have some gripes to talk about.
Yeah.
I am not afraid to gripe. But yes, I loved it. I thought it was great.
So let's really quick, because I don't know which one you prefer. I think I know which one you prefer, but you've never said it to me. It's never been stated. I've never stated it to you which one I prefer. So let's do our rankings and thoughts together.
Do I have to say this?
Let's start with your favorite.
My favorite between the two?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty obvious. There is the show that everyone is talking about, and then there's Academy of Villains.
Whoa. Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of huge Academy of Villains fans. And
yes. But
it's a great show. I agree with you. But Marathon of Mayhem is just spectacular.
I guess I don't really follow the people on Twitter who really like Academy of Villains. It's not necessarily our demographic, but so should we start just kind of delve into Marathon of Mayhem a little bit? We've talked a lot about it, so we'll probably be a little bit shorter. We have a lot more to say about Academy of Villains because we haven't.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Marathon of Mayhem. What, have you seen it a couple of times? Is it still staying as good as it has?
I've seen 8 viewings, 9 viewings, something like that.
I've seen it like 3 or 4 times. It's good.
And every single time, it's not like, you know how there's a lot of nighttime spectaculars across all the theme parks. You see it a few times, and you're like, yeah, I'll sit here and watch it. And then you kind of pull out your phone and play on your phone a little bit. And you're like, oh, it's over. Yeah, that was fun. Okay, bye. This one has my attention every single time.
Yes.
Every viewing, I'm fully just into it. 100% into it. The music, the lights, the content.
It's very tight. Like, it's very... and I guess that can mean a couple of different things. But it's very well put together, and it's fast, and it's pithy, and before you there's no slow parts of it. There's no boring. There's no Cheer Up Charlie song. That's a reference that you guys won't get. But from the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory from 1984, there is like a really boring song right before it's about to get good called Cheer Up Charlie. And so I call anything that is like kind of the song that you fast forward through to get to the good stuff, the Cheer Up Charlie song. And there's really not a Cheer Up Charlie song in Academy or in Marathon of Mayhem.
Speaking of fast forwarding, let's talk about rewinding. Stopping, then hitting play. Holy crap.
Right?
That finale is...
It's so good. It's so fun.
I love the soundtrack. Okay, we've talked about this on, I think, every episode now, a good bit, and how much we enjoy it. So do you have Go ahead.
I've been meaning to ask you, maybe off mic, but I'm just going to ask you now. Is there a Synthwave Stay Puffed shirt that I can have? Is that a thing that exists? Because I want a Synthwave Stay Puffed.
Have I seen
so
one?
bad.
No. Could you find it on Etsy or something? Yeah, I bet you could.
Yeah, probably. I know there's a guy on Twitter that's Synthwave Stay Puffed. Maybe,
really?
Yeah, maybe he can make a T-shirt. And I would buy it.
You could also make the T-shirt if he doesn't already.
I'm lazy. I am a very lazy person.
Well,
I have a lot
maybe Synthwave Stay Puffed is too. We don't know this.
Yeah,
I don't know this man's life.
Hey, Synthwave Stay Puft, if you are listening, make a Synthwave Stay Puft shirt. Pink and purple are perfect, and I will buy it.
That's a shout to you.
Yeah,
if you listen.
Yeah.
We're gonna at you on Twitter. Forget it. We're gonna make
we're
this
gonna
happen.
we're
gonna at you on Twitter.
At you on Twitter and say, "Hey, Synthwave Stay Puft, you were mentioned on our podcast. Listen and make a T-shirt."
All right. So moving on to Academy of Villains, which I'm sure isn't gonna be as exciting.
All right, let's move on to Academy of Villains. This is the show that you've seen how many times at this point?
6, 7.
To be fair, I've only seen it once, but the gripes that I have about it aren't necessarily show things. I think, or like if I watched it more, I would start to enjoy it. It's more just kind of overall like about it that I don't think would change. So, do you want to start on what you feel about it, and then I can chime in, or do you want me just kind of to lead?
I mean, I'll go with it. So I've, for the most part, enjoyed Academy of Villains' time at Horror Nights 2016. House of Fear, I believe it was called. I loved it. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
In 2017...
That's the one that was destroyed by Irma,
no, that was
right?
2017.
Oh, okay.
2017.
Okay.
2017, the Irma show.
Show, yeah.
Which, for what they had to work with, I thought was also a lot of fun. Last year was not great, to put it lightly.
So,
I did not enjoy it, and especially the fact that that was the year after Bill and Ted in its spot, and that's what we got.
Basically, you were fucking pissed.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
You were salty, and it doesn't matter what you put in there, you would not have liked it.
It would have had to have been fantastic. See, but I also understand that Academy of Villains wasn't a replacement for Bill and Ted. It was something they already had, and they just moved it to that spot. It's not their fault Bill and Ted left. However, when you put something of that quality in the same spot the year after, it made me very upset at the time, and a little upset thinking back at it that I wasted my time watching multiple shows of that.
So I didn't see this one. I do believe that I probably would have liked it more than you. From the little clips that I've seen, it seems like it right down my alley. It's kind of appeals to someone like me, who goes to synthwave shows and really likes the synthwave aesthetic.
Oh, but it wasn't synthwave.
It seems like it kind of like the cyberpunky.
Yeah, I mean it was called cyberpunk, and it used some of the elements, but watch it on YouTube.
Okay.
We're talking about Altered States this year. I don't know why I went so far back.
It fits the theme. We can talk about whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
This is our show. I'm going to talk about Altered States because it's my damn show. I mean, I really enjoyed it this year. I think it's a lot more action-packed than last year. I think they also last year they tried to follow the story. This year they also follow the story while keeping it exciting and entertaining throughout. The Contortionist is the absolute star of the show, in my opinion.
I agree with you there. The Contortionist is amazing. And any gripes I have with the show or about I'll get to it in a second, but any gripes I have about it, this does not include the Contortionist. I think he's perfect. I think he is perfect with what he does. He is awesome. He's the star of the show.
Agreed. I think the music this year is pretty solid. Some of it's not necessarily up my alley, but I think it fits the show really well, which I'll accept. I don't have to be a fan of a song to understand that it fits the theme really well. And I just really like the story. Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I think it works really well with the type of show they're doing. It fits really well within Horror Nights. Overall, it gets a solid rating from me. I'd say like a 7.5, 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I would probably give it probably like 7 too. So my problem with Academy of Villains is that I feel like the story is definitely just to be there to feature like 3 featured acrobats, right? Or 3, like, for the most part, and the dance elements. And those 3 featured people are really, really good at what they do. I do feel like, and one of my main gripes is I feel like the soccer dribbler is very out of place for what they were trying to do there. He's amazing at what he does. He's super talented. I feel like they could have found a different type of acrobat that I think would have fit a little bit better into the theme instead of soccer dribbling. That no gripe on how talented he is. It's awesome. I just thought it was a little weird and kind of maybe, especially coming first. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Why are we the soccer dribbler? I think maybe near the end it would have fit a little bit more better. It was like, okay, so we're just kind of featuring like acrobats, and one of them is soccer dribbler. Also, I would say another one of my main gripes is that of the 5 kind of featured roles of this, they're all dudes. It is kind of turning into like, I don't want to use the word sausage fest, but
you just did.
I did. Couldn't they have? I know that Academy of Villains has some amazingly talented women. Why couldn't they have featured one in a featured role? I think the aerial silk performer easily could have been a woman. I feel like if they didn't do the soccer dribbler, they could have put a woman in that role. Like, I'm not quite sure why all 3 featured performers
and then 3 main characters
all had to be dudes. I think there probably could have been a woman. And don't get me wrong, there are women backup dancers, but they're kind of accessories. And I feel like for a show this big on this type of scale, let's have some female representation.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's interesting from Academy of Villains because I feel like women have been more prominent within the shows in past years. I don't think they've ever been like the star, but they've had bigger roles. Whereas the biggest role a woman has this year is getting thrown off the top of the stage,
right? And like spinning on their little spin things while the aerial silk artist does their thing. Like,
you're just there in case the person can't see the main aerialist.
Yeah. I'm not faulting the show. I just think there should have been a little bit better thought out representation. But I mean, it's not against the people who did it. I think what they put on is really good. But next time, let's put some chicks in there.
Yeah, I agreed. So you'd say 7 out of 10 is kind of what
I'd say like a strong 6.5, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're kind of wavering on that okay and good level.
I think if I had saw it last year, I think I probably would have liked it better.
I want you to watch that on YouTube and report back next episode whether you think that's accurate still.
Yeah, and I do think that the story is a little weak. I'm
not even gonna talk about last year. Carry on.
Last year was weaker, I'm sure. This year, yeah, it was just a little weak, and it doesn't have to be a huge elaborate story.
I do have to say for last year, I said there was no like real star that was a woman. Last year, I would say the main character was a woman. So take that back.
Okay,
so that's a positive last year.
Okay, so last year they did have a featured artist that wasn't a dude. Yeah. Okay, good. All right. Well, do we have anything else that you want to say about shows or Scarezones? I want to get out and see Academy of Villains one more time. I will say that I had watched Academy of Villains on YouTube before, and then I saw it, and it's really, really good there. Like, the energy is high. The contortionist just blows off the roof, like the energy. People, when we went and saw, I don't know if it's every
People
time,
fired
but people
up for him.
were fired up. They were hyped.
A lot of times around that like middle stage where he goes up, that whole area is just standing and like screaming.
Yo, he blows it out of the water. I could watch 25 minutes of him just taking his things like out of his socket. And
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yes. I don't think that's the same type of show.
Moving his arms around in ways that arms should not move.
All right. Anything else to add?
No, I think that's it.
All right. So let's give our update
quickly to our top 10.
Week 6 top 10 houses.
Yeah, we'll try to keep this pithy because you probably kind of already know our opinions on the houses. So, but we do like to update them because these, change based on runs. Yeah. So
all but 1 week I've had at least one change.
Yeah. So they're changing, and as you can see with Vanity Ball, it's all really depends on your experience in them. So,
I do have one thing. Vanity Ball, I'm rooting for you. Try to stay on top, please.
Yeah,
please.
I wanted you back in number one.
I've liked you from the beginning.
Yeah, I want you back number one.
Because you were real close to not being there.
I want you back in number one.
All right, number 10. House.
I want you back.
Baby, come back.
All right, so number 10 for me is not what I had in number 10 last year. It is now Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
How'd that happen there? Was it on the fault of that house? Or?
No, not necessarily the fault of that house. I would say that I don't have a house that I hate this year. I like all of them. There are just houses that... And I'm starting to realize the more we do the show and we talk about the houses, about just there are some things I like about houses that... and other things I don't. There are things that when I go through a house, I'm like, oh yes, this is my type of house. And it's, from what I'm starting to realize, a lot different than what most Halloween horror fans like in houses. I think most people like a real scary element to the houses. And I don't mind that. I am more of a pretty house guy. I really like houses that have a really elaborate sets and really elaborate, just like wow factor, pretty. That's kind of what really gets me wanting to go back into a house.
I gotta say, Killer Clowns has nothing to do with either of those subjects. Scary, pretty.
It's neither. Neither of those things. So that's kind of why it's down 10.
No, that's definitely fair. For me, number 10. I've said this every week, but I think I can officially say my final ranking number 10 is Stranger Things, because with 3 weeks left, there is nothing it can do to make up for the past 6 weeks of me just not enjoying it. And I've tried. It's not like something I've done once, twice, 3. I've done it like 7 times. I've given it plenty of chances, and it just doesn't. It's not my style house. I think some of the sets are very nice. I also think some of the sets are done a little lazily. I don't know if that's purposely done because what they want to portray would be tougher to do with a live scare actor. I don't know what it is. All I know is static figures everywhere. I don't have a problem with strobes in general. I think that they try to use strobes to mask those static figures in a lot of scenes, which I don't love. Well, I guess it is better than just static figures and no strobes, but solidly number 10 for me, and it's going to finish number 10 for me unless they build a new house over this next week.
I think you've heard us debate about this quite a bit. We'll limit it. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
We'll talk more about it once we get to where you have it.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about it. Number 9. My number 9 is Nightingale's Blood Pit. I think it's a really good house. It's a house that could easily have been up there on a weaker year. I just think this year is really good. It's the things I don't necessarily like about it, which is why it's slow, is that it's just not one of those. It doesn't tick a lot of boxes for me on things I'm looking for. It's very claustrophobic. I do get claustrophobic. I am have claustrophobia, so walking through a claustrophobic house, while done well for a short period of time, will make me really scared and like the house. Done too much will just kind of make me start fucking hating the house, and just like, I need out of here. I can't even enjoy the good parts of it because it's just way too claustrophobic. This house is very dark, very claustrophobic, and not very pretty. One thing we talked about, I don't know if we talked about on the show or not, but it doesn't feel, when you're on the outside, the Roman theme comes through very well. But once you enter in that second room, it feels like you're kind of in a castle that doesn't feel very Romanesque. It feels like you are transported into a different... I don't feel like the Roman theme from the outside is put very well into the house.
I would agree. I think there's some scenes where it comes through, but I think there's a lot where I think the theme kind of goes missing.
I think if that second room was a little bit more Roman, the other rooms could lack a little bit, but it's just kind of like, it's just wham in your face. They're like, okay, so what happened to the Roman? Why are we in like a castle? Like, why are we like, I don't know what it is. It just feels to me like we have this Roman on the outside, and then with that very first room just doesn't, I don't feel that Roman come through. It just feels like I've been transported into like medieval times.
All right, number 9, sorry, for me, is Killer Clowns. Just talked about, was that Mike's number 10, so don't really have to discuss that anymore.
Yeah. My number 8 is House of a Thousand Corpses. This one, I had it at 10, I think, the last couple of times. It is a move. I had a really good run through.
It was.
Yeah,
it was fantastic.
I got every scare. It's still not necessarily the type of house that I like, but it's really pretty.
Those tunnels.
The sets are amazing in there. Yeah. And the tunnels, and it's got the scares, and it's got some cool special effects in there. So I'm starting to kind of, it's all starting to kind of gel together and come together to kind of be into a type of house that I like. And so I need to give it a couple more runs, but it could, honestly, yeah, I think it could keep moving.
If we get some more good ones.
Yeah.
I would like to point out Mike has not seen the movie.
I have not, and we are probably...
Yeah, go ahead, say it.
Should we just kind of spoil what we're probably going to do next?
Yeah, I mean,
for next episode?
Yeah.
So, we want to watch some of the movies that I have not seen, and basically podcast through them while having some libations. So a libation cast.
AKA a drunk review.
Movie libation cast. We're going to try to record. We don't know quite what that looks like, but libation cast is coming.
It definitely is. Probably not our normal episode. It'll be like a midweek thing or something.
Maybe whenever
we'll see.
Yeah.
No promise on when it's happening.
Yes,
but
it's
coming.
Yeah.
Because he has to see the movie and then do the house again. So we have to do this before the event's over for sure.
And I don't love horror movies, so the only way I can really watch horror movies is if I am libationing.
That's so weird. You run the Horror Nights podcast, don't like horror movies.
I mean,
I love it though.
I don't not like horror movies. Like, I'm not scared of them. It's just like, if I'm going to sit down and watch a movie, the first thing I'm not going to turn on is like, I don't know, like Us, or I like Us actually.
I was about to say.
I really like Us. That was a really terrible example. I just kind of outed myself as I can't, like, Halloween. I would never put on like Rob Zombie's Halloween.
Yeah.
Of I wanted to watch it.
And we just lost a lot of listeners.
I know
that one comment.
I know. Sorry guys. I know the most of the people who like Halloween and Horror Nights also really like horror movies. I don't not like horror movies. I honestly think I like horror movies. I just really like other movies, and I don't have a lot of time to watch movies anymore. So horror movies kind of are like probably like,
that's fair.
They're in there, but they're
So now when he listens, he'll be drunk and it'll be recorded, and you probably won't hear the whole thing, but we'll do highlights of and then a drunk review afterwards.
Yeah.
Anyways, my number 8 is sadly Depths of Fear. That's one that I kind of felt was going to be on the rise. It felt like it was picking up, and it's dropping again. And all the mouth brooders are disappearing. Last time we went through. What day did we go together? Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday.
There was two mouth brooders in the entire house. Yeah. And earlier, I don't know if I said this in the podcast or if it was just talking to someone earlier in the season. But I said, I think I might like it better if they did more like the mutated human scare actors, not the mouth brooders. I do not. That was false, and I learned a lesson there. So
they heard you, and they tried it.
And I made a mistake. I apologize, creative, if you listen to me. That's my number 8.
My number 7 is also Depths of Fear. It's a very pretty house. It checks that box. The special effects are really cool. I really like it. Honestly, I would say it would probably, in a different year, I could see this house being my number 1 house.
I don't know if I could ever see it being number 1, but I could see it being a lot higher in another year.
Yeah, I kind of stand by that statement. I could see this house. On paper, this house could be my number 1. It has all the things I'm looking for in a house, except the mouth breeders are pretty fucking goofy. They're goofy.
That's why I thought I'd like it better with the human-esque scare actors, but that's no. I'd rather take the goofy fish.
Yeah.
So my number 7, and this is the only change I had this week. Jumping Depths of Fear was Us. Again, this is one of those houses that I really enjoy. Not a knock on the house that it's this low. Strong year for houses, in my opinion. And I just feel like there's a few gaps that I've talked about in previous episodes, but I really enjoy the house overall.
Yeah, I feel like you're griping less about this house. I think early on it was kind of like it was pretty low for you, right?
I think I've had it. I don't think it's dropped. It's been 8 is the lowest. So I mean, it's never been like bottom.
Yeah,
I mean 8 is pretty close to the bottom, but I've always stood by that. I enjoy the house. I enjoy the others better.
We talk about these a lot, and from my view, that you're saying more good things about Us lately than early on when you were kind of
definitely. I mean, I still sounds like we've heard Pluto is still there.
Okay,
which is positive.
That's good.
I have not seen him recently still, but the fact that he's there is nice. The first Pluto where he jumps out on the ground I'm talking about. But yeah, I mean, I think it does a really good job of telling the story. I think the sets look really nice. I think some of the scare actors are uncanny to the characters they're playing.
The casting is on point.
You can't ask for too much more for a house that's just following a movie.
Right. Let's guess we keep moving. Yeah. My number 6 is Yeti, Terror of the Yukon.
See, I'm surprised. I feel like that's one that you'd have higher. I mean, I feel like it would tick like every box.
It does. It does tick every box. That is the problem with this year. From Killer Clown, so I don't like Killer Clowns necessarily, but from that on, and Nightingales, it would be like a mid-out one.
So basically from like 8 and up.
From 8 and up, I could see those being my like top 3 houses for any other year. That's just how good this year is. Yeti, I think we all know why Yeti is good. I've never had someone be like, "Yo, Yeti is terrible." Like, why did you make me go through this house? Like, everyone I think likes Yeti. Is there, if there's someone out there who does not like Yeti, let us know what you don't like about it, because I don't think we've said a bad thing about Yeti.
I also don't know anyone who has either. Like, everyone I've brought has had nothing but good things to say. I don't see anything bad on Twitter about it.
You have said that the Yetis are kind of so big and clumsy that they're kind of more looking up than down.
I don't think that's a knock on the house. I think, of course, it's not a perfect house, but
it's really good.
It's hard to critique. I think I don't love the character design. I think they're kind of looking up, so they can't really hover over you in most cases. Right. But otherwise, very good house. But this is your ranking, not mine. So let me talk about my number 6, Ghostbusters.
Okay.
This house has moved up a little bit.
I was going to say, this has moved up for you.
Yeah, not this week. It was 6 last week as well. But I think the sets are absolutely stunning. I don't love the effects, but they're still fun. It's a fun house. It's just a fun house.
That's good. I'm glad it's moving. I have to remember that when we first went out of that house, and I was like, "Yes, this was so great." Your response was, "Meh."
Yeah, but that was also like my second or third time going through it.
Oh, okay.
So it wasn't.
No, I think it was your very first time.
No, I went through it first night.
Yeah, I was with you on the first night. I did that first night house. Yeah.
Were you really?
Yeah, we were with.
Oh,
Yeah, we
I
did
thought that was with.
No, I left
Nico
early.
And...
No.
Oh, really?
No,
I thought that's when we did
no,
together.
that was in my very last house before I had to leave first night. I waited until we did Ghostbusters, and I missed Us, Stranger Things, and a few others. But first night, but that one was the last one we did first night.
Okay.
And I left humming and skipping, busting makes me feel good. And I walked to my car and I went home and I thought about when I would be able to get to go back.
I mean, it still kind of is meh in some aspects, but overall, it's a fun house. I enjoy it, and again, sets are absolutely beautiful. And I always appreciate when they have live voice actors inside.
Yes.
That will always give you a nice thumbs up from me.
All right, so my number 5, and I feel like
this is another one that kind of shocks me that it's where it is.
Yeah,
because I know you really enjoy it too.
I love it. It's just I like the others a bit more, and I have to say that I was such a defender of some of the other ones up that I've kind of just like had to follow my sword on them.
Oh no! All right, well, what is your number 5?
My number 5 is Universal Monsters. So Universal Monsters is so good, and it's good. So I am going to gripe about it just a little bit. I should probably not whisper on the podcast too much, but I'm going to gripe a little bit.
We don't hear a lot of gripes about this one, so
some of the sets I feel like are kind of long hallways with wallpaper. Some of them,
or mirrors, if you
or mirrors, or it's not as pretty as some of the others. Now the special effects are awesome. They're awesome. What they do in that house, I wish that they would do in all of the houses.
Big fan of the bungees.
Huge fan of the bungees. Huge fan of the bungees. Huge fan of like the mirrors effects, the tiny rooms that feel huge and expansive just by using mirror effects. I love that. Love it. I do feel like, especially like the mummy area, it's just kind of, they pulled out the wallpaper and put it on.
I feel like the mummy deserved a little more respect. But,
yeah.
Well, you're going to hear more about this from me in a little while.
Okay. What's your number?
My number 5 is House with 1,000 Corpses. And I feel like that's solidly a top half house for me right now. It's, like you said, really good sets. There's some good scares in there. If you get that run through perfectly, I think that's one of the things that keeps it down lower for me. It is so dependent on its run.
Right.
Like, every house is, but this one, if you go through and you don't get the timing right, it's just like, I'm just kind of walking through these sets and absolutely nothing is happening. But when you get it, man, you get it good. I love the tunnel. I love Dr. Satan. I've raved about this before.
Yeah.
But solidly a top half house for me right now.
I love how we said we would just say like one or two things and not just keep harping on.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to. We love this.
We like to nerd out.
Yeah, we do. That's what we said that this would be in the first episode, is us just nerding out about this year. We don't have very much longer to nerd about this year in the way that we can right now.
We have like 9 months after, actually.
Yeah, but we can't do rankings.
Or can we?
We watched it on YouTube.
I was watching some POVs, and I think my number 2's changed. All right, go ahead. What's your number 4, Mike?
My number 4 is Ghostbusters. I'm going to basically try to go real quick on this one because you guys know why I like Ghostbusters. I think the people who like Ghostbusters are basically very similar to myself. Really pretty. Not scary, but I don't think houses at Halloween Horror Nights need to be scary. I don't think that's necessarily why people go to Halloween Horror Nights, is to get scared in every single house. I think there are scary things about Halloween Horror Nights, and I like to get scared as much as the next guy, but I also like to walk through a story of my childhood and get to see some really, really cool things and have a jump scare or two in between. That's kind of what ticks a box for me. That's why I go to Halloween Horror Nights, walk through a story, get told the story, whether it's an IP or original. The scares just kind of come along with it. So Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's fair. For me, number 4. So while we've been sitting here, I've actually talked myself into a second ranking change.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
You're changing it.
And I'll tell you the reason why. So dropping from 3 to 4 is Nightingales.
Oh.
And I'll tell you why. I was having great run-throughs. We talked about this plenty. I don't have to go into details.
Oh, you said they were getting very scary.
They are.
Right?
The last run-through I had was was less than stellar, we'll say.
Yeah. I think I was at that one,
the
right?
thing, it wasn't really even a timing thing. There was just a lot missing. The intensity was down. And that happens. This isn't like oh, God, you weren't going absolutely crazy for this one run-through. However, the reason this drops for me, also in the house that's taking place does have effect on this, but because it had inconsistency issues in the first few weeks and then started picking up. And now I see inconsistency again, so, I still really enjoy it. 4 is a really good ranking. That's not bad at all. But my number 3 passed it again.
Yeah. I think you have it higher than most people.
I think, I definitely, there are some
You're
people who have it up
definitely
there,
a defender of Nightingale.
I am. I definitely am.
Okay, so my number 3 is Us. Mm-hmm. So, Us is a really fun house. While it can be really inconsistent, I would say I've had the worst run through, I think, of any of these houses in Us. I don't know what was going on in there. I feel like I'm having deja vu, and I've said this on the podcast before, but it was just like they were maybe all just like swapping out, and they didn't pulse me in, they didn't hold me, and they were just like, but there was basically no scares in Us, which was pretty disappointing. But when Us is good, Us is really good for the type of stuff that I like. It is really pretty, some awesome scares, some really amazing characters. Like, I would say, if character of this year, I think Us has to be up there. I think what they are doing in that house, I think the characters, casting wise, I think the characters make that house. I think without they could have really, if they didn't cast the right people in that house, I think Us would be a totally different house. I think these characters make that house. It is, while it's very pretty, that house would be nothing without the casting that they did. So kudos to the characters, kudos to this casting people who cast those characters. Us is made by the blood, sweat, and tears of those characters, which not all houses are. Like Stranger Things, but Us is really made by its cast, and part of the reason why I like it.
I think another impressive thing about that house is, you like to talk about this a lot, the classroom that was built just as a boo hole.
Yes, they basically built an entire classroom just for a boo hole. The Lupito Nyong'o character just comes out of it, the non-tethered comes out of it as a jump scare out of the classroom to kind of fight the red character in one of the walkthroughs. So you're looking at this awesome classroom. You're like, oh, we're going to go in there? And out comes this character to kind of as a jump scare. It's awesome. Yeah. What they did in there is amazing. I want to go in that classroom.
Me too.
And see just how much...
No, you can't. No,
I don't think they take you into the classroom.
Well, anyways, jumping Nightingales to get to number 3 for me is Yeti.
Oh, okay.
We talked about this earlier. I mean, there's not much negative to say about Yeti. I don't love the costume design, but otherwise, the sets are beautiful. The scares are great. That first cabin is, fantastic. Love that scene. I don't... That's all I got to say. It's a great house.
It's awesome. It really is. It's really good. All right, my number 2, and
this is. I think you say that we differ a lot. I don't think we differ that much, except this one house. This is
one house, and I don't want to say. So I see all your points of it. But I still love walking through this house.
Which is fair. No, that's
I would
fine.
say, yes, it's not that scary. But so is Killer Clowns is not scary. Ghostbusters is not scary.
Also number 10.
But I did.
Yeah, but I also respect Ghostbusters.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say Killer Clowns is very pretty. I wouldn't walk through it. Yeah.
Go on to what it is.
Stranger Things is just, in my opinion, maybe it will drop for me. But it's just fun to walk through. It's fun. You are transported into a really, really fun story. And I think what they do in that house, they do it well. I know that there are some things missing from it. I wish they would have characters that portraying some of the roles more, and they use less aesthetic figures. Yes, I agree with you there. But what they do in Stranger Things, and I really like to people watch it, and I really like to listen what people say. Whenever I leave Stranger Things, the general public is always like, "Oh my god, that house was amazing." I think if you were to just like be like a research person and like got to see the numbers, I think Stranger Things is a top fan favorite. I know on Twitter. I know on Twitter there's a lot of hate on Stranger Things. I know most of you guys, and no hate to you guys, have Stranger Things near the bottom.
See, but I also think you're missing a lot of people who, even as Horror Nights fan, are like, that is the best house I've ever done.
See, I haven't seen it.
I'll show you some. I will show you some. I think
the hate on Twitter.
From the Horror Nights community, it's obviously getting knocked more. But I'm also seeing people within the Horror Nights community who are like, I really like that house. I mean, sometimes there's just very differing views, and that's what's fun about this. There's so many subjective things. I completely agree that if I could look at the survey numbers from the general public, that's, if not number one, really close to it. I could see Ghostbusters maybe being number one.
Yeah.
But I think it's top two, definitely.
And I think a lot of that maybe is the IP that people just really have.
That's exactly
But I think they took that IP and put it really, really well into a house that, while not necessarily be super scary, it takes that IP perfectly and puts it into a house.
I really wish that you went last year. You didn't, so you could compare the two.
I wish I don't necessarily think
that would make it drop in your rankings, but I think you'd also could see where, like, that was a drop off for sure.
I tried so hard to make it last year. It just wasn't in the cards. I almost went to Stranger Things Day just to go to this house. I almost bought a general ticket to Universal because I did not have admission to Universal at the time. Yes, I tried so hard to get to the Stranger Things house. It just did not happen.
Yeah, it happens. Anyway, so my number 2 is going to be Universal Monsters, which I think we kind of nailed it on the head when Mike was talking about it. It's not that I don't agree with what you say about some of it. Just kind of feels like always slapped on the walls with some wallpaper and a few little props. But I think in the few it does, it kind of works. Do I wish the Mummy had a little more to it? Yeah, I do. Overall, though, I think the sets are beautiful. Character design, beautiful. Some of the effects are fantastic. The scares are there. Not much more I can ask for in a house. I still think it's potentially top 10 all time for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm comfortable saying that, I think sometime in the off season we'll go through like a full like top 25 all-time houses or something like that. We'll see.
No, that would be great.
We'll see where it ends.
Yeah.
But then I think I could just say this for both of us. Number 1 is Graveyard Games.
Yeah. You can say it for both of us. And I don't know if we've necessarily... And you've definitely talked about what you really like about it. I think it's just ticks almost every single box of what I'm looking for in a house. Has an amazing story, either IP original, and this one is original. It has amazing characters in there that are giving them their all. It has super awesome special effects. It's really pretty. Mm-hmm. It's super scary. It basically takes everything that I'm looking for in a haunted house and throws it all together and yes, I will say that we have maybe seen this before. Like, we've seen this. Is definitely feels like we've seen it before, but that's not a bad thing.
No.
Like, I'm sure there are definitely haunts around the country, either in the past or now, that feel very similar to this one.
A haunted graveyard is not a unique idea.
Yes.
Universal has done it multiple times.
Right. We have seen and felt this the same thing before. It feels like the haunted houses that I've been going to as a kid, like the Rocky Points or the Nightmare on the 13th, where the not very gory but very scary Salt Lake City, Utah haunts of the 90s. That's what it feels like to me, and that's why I love it.
And this shows the separation of Universal and the quality, because, man, the story, The scares, the sets are so beautiful. I mean, I can't rave about this house enough, to be honest. I've said it before. This is potentially going for my number one all time. Don't know if it's hit it yet, but it's close. It is damn close.
Well, yeah. Well, I would like to do that podcast. So I think maybe off season we're gonna have a lot to talk about.
Okay. We'll definitely do an episode that's focused. We'll do a top 25 and
that'd be fun.
Kind of talk about it as much as we're talking about the houses now. So
let's do it.
So I think that wraps up the episode pretty much there.
Pretty much, yeah. So our next podcast to look out for is gonna be the movie review.
Well, maybe we'll see because we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know.
We have to work out.
Yeah.
So the plan, I think we kind of want to squeeze in that and a regular one.
Yeah. Yeah,
but maybe we'll just do the regular one and push that one back. But it's going to happen before the end of this event.
Right.
That's what we know.
We need to figure out what else there is to say about 29, though, as well.
Oh yeah, we'll squeeze.
We'll find some stuff.
Oh yeah, it'll be included. That's why I kind of want to do that as a separate episode.
Yeah.
Like a little just 30-minute kind of. Here's the highlights of drunk Mike screaming at House with 1,000 Corpses, and then a small review. And by small, I mean we'll go to like an hour and a half, like we always do.
Right. I hope you guys like long podcasts because this was supposed to be 20 minutes.
Well, I don't know about 20 minutes.
It was supposed to be short.
Around 40 minutes, we thought we were almost done, and here we are, 45 minutes later, just wrapping up.
An hour and 25. Oh, great.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to end and get home and get yelled at by my wife.
That's always fun. He has horror nights at home, too.
I love you. If you're listening, if you made it to an hour and a half of us talking about things that you would never experience, I love you.
I was joking as well, in case you were wondering.
All right. We look forward to hearing from you about what you guys think about the podcast. If you like it, if you don't like it, let us know on Twitter. Interact with us, please. On
Scarezone rankings, please.
Yeah. I am getting... I'm trying to interact with you guys, so interact with me back.
Synthwave, stay puffed. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Yeah. I hope you did, because we're going to reach out on Twitter and try to make you listen.
Yeah.
And get you to make some shirts.
Yeah.
Because Mike's too lazy to.
Yeah, I want to send.
And he thinks you're the one who has to do it since it's your Twitter handle.
It's your Twitter handle. Make some Stay Puft shirts. I'm sure they would be a hit.
With like Mike and a couple people.
No, there's plenty of people would.
You're right. That'd probably be big. I might buy it. Anyways, thanks for listening. Mike, any last words here?
No. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys, and we'll see you in the streets.